March madness begins. March is the craziest, most intense and happening month in 2025. We're going to have two eclipses. We're going to have Venus and Mercury going retrograde. We're going to have Neptune moving into Aries. Bam, bam, bam. Each one of those events is big astrological events. Put all five together, and I called it March Madness. So this is very important to watch, to be prepared. The layers will be shifting, the directions of our lives with eclipses, fated events get activated in our lives. With retrograde planets, we turn direction, we start changing how we feel, think, and feel about something. With eclipses, we totally derail the train onto another direction, basically. So, wow. And it's all happening in Aries, around the Aries area. But actually, to know specifically how this is going to affect you, you can, even if you're not looking at this video, you can just go to my transit calendar, personal transit calendar at astrolada.com, enter your birth details. No one else in the world will have the same transits like you have. These videos that I do for each of the 12 signs, they're just for your ascendant sign or sun sign or moon sign. But this calculator calculates every position of the planet in your horoscope. Is it Saturn? Is it Mercury? Is it Venus? And it gives you the transits that you're going to have day by day. It's only free for 7 days, but each 7 days it gets updated. So you always see 7 days ahead, but you can open for a longer period. And if you want to see those eclipses, one in Virgo, one in Aries, will directly affect you, you can check. For example, this is my horoscope. The eclipse is directly affecting me. It's conjunct my Mercury. It will totally turn around anything connected with Mercury in my horoscope. And look how many extensive interpretations there are. Or what other transits will retrograde Venus directly? They affect you directly. You look at transits of Venus. Oh yes, retrograde Venus will be opposite my Jupiter. Retrograde Venus will be square trine my Uranus. You can see much more specifically than those videos how you will be affected. And of course, we end with Neptune in Aries. Crazy. The eclipse, I don't know what's going to happen with the world. Let me just be honest. There might be big revelation of markets with those retrogrades, Mercury and Venus next to Saturn, next to Neptune, eclipse on the same degree. Some big news with wars and peace, because it's all happening in Aries. The world either getting in arms or disarming. I don't know which way it goes exactly. Big eclipse, lunar eclipse in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of the working class people, is the sign of the medical and hospital industries and the diseases as well. So where is going to hit us from? I don't know. This eclipse in Virgo is exactly opposite Saturn and opposite Neptune. So you have to be more careful with health, because this is the axis of illnesses, diseases as well, water, matters connected to water. But then all the action is also in Aries. So we have water, fire. Let's start. I'm not going to go for the whole world, but individually, because you're important, how you're going to deal with these energies in your life. And believe me, this is once in a year, very rare opportunity or lifetime to really reset in a big way a certain area of your life where all this action is happening, whatever areas is. Let's begin. And by the way, I have 5-hour video for Neptune in Aries for each one individually, only for personal predictions. It's only $20. It covers all possible transits Neptune can have to personal planets over the next 13 years, sextiles, trines, oppositions on Neptune through each house, and they're all full of personal stories that I've watched people for the last 20 years, how they overcome Neptune transit, what happens in their life. I give you many stories from the highest to the lowest, remedies how to deal with that, and I also explain to you how to find all the transits. Very easy, you don't need to know any astrology. This is my love of work, my work of love, sorry. Neptune's affecting me already. For you, if you'd like to get it, I'm putting a link below the description. Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising, March 2025. Aries, this is the most important month for you. March and April together. Almost everything important during this most important period for the whole year is happening around the sign and in the sign of Aries. So get ready for a reset, a reboot. Very, very big changes, and especially those areas that are the early degree. So the March born Aries, if we're talking your sun is in Aries, or if it's your moon or ascendant in Aries, this will be the first 10 degrees of Aries, or 12, 13. That will feel it the most from 0 to 12, 13. It doesn't mean that the rest of the areas from 12 till 30 degrees are not going to feel the waves from what's happening, because a sign is like a spider web, and even if you're at one end of the spider web and everything is happening at the other end of the spider web, it's still shaking that end of the spider web where you are on. So it is interconnected. So all areas, pay attention, whether it's your sun, moon, or rising, or even if you have just planets like Venus or Mercury there. First of all, the month begins with Venus turning retrograde on the very 1st of March on 9 degrees of Aries. So people that are around, 11, 12, 11, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7 degrees, they would feel this Venus turning retrograde very strongly turn around in their life of the direction. Something surprising comes, something out of the blue. That makes you reconsider your actions. And Mercury in the middle of the month also turns retrograde, again at 9 degrees Aries. So again, it will be retrograde in the first 10 degrees of Aries. That's why I'm really emphasizing the early areas to listen. And there is an eclipse at the same degree, 9 degree of Aries, 9, 10. This is whoever is around those degrees. It means they're born at the end of March, the beginning of April, or their moon or ascendant is around those first 10, 11 degrees. Wow, something huge and big, but for the other areas as well. What does it mean to have Venus and Mercury be retrograde? Pretty much Venus the whole month of March and into April, big part. March, the second part from the 15th till the end of March, Mercury. So first of all, those two planets, and especially when both go retrograde in your sign, it's like imagine you're going down your everyday life and you're used to, how things happen, you have your plans, your life always unfolds in a certain way that you're familiar with. And one after another, within 2 weeks, 2 planets go retrograde in your sign. It can feel like your life gets turned upside down for a little bit. Like the direction you've been going, like it's like wrenches being thrown at you, surprises that come left and right, unexpected. Because a planet looking as if it's starting to move backwards, it's things, I'm not saying that things will start going backwards, but yes, there can be some delays with something as well. That's one of the ways that things can slow down, and you can be returned to some things that you haven't done in the past. It's okay. That's not a bad thing to do something, to go back to something you used to do and to work on it, to make it better, to improve it, for example, especially if it's connected to business, which is Mercury, to work, to mental work, any business project, any communications or conversations that were not finished, things unsaid, will be said now, will be completed. Or sometimes you can bring up things from the past to talk about that, like you don't have peace about yet, and you need closure. So many times we get closure when a planet goes retrograde, to see the matters that we've been dealing with before, but to see them in a different light, in a different perspective. So that's one of the good things as well. But it does entail that something from the past can come back to you. And it can be very positive as well. Don't be afraid, because Venus and Mercury are both very social planets. They can bring back to you some friendships, someone, a relative, Mercury, or a schoolmate you haven't seen for a while, or workmate, or someone that you haven't been in touch. They can reconnect you. You can reconnect with them. Venus is a relationship. It rules your 7th house as well. Even some old past love unfinished, where there is no let's say closure as well can reappear, sometimes even to be restarted, but usually it's for you to see, oh my God, I have peace with this now. Where was my mind back then? Or it can be something much more mundane. Oh, it can be like friends coming back that you haven't seen, get together. And because they're very beautiful planets, both Mercury and Venus, they don't have to necessarily create stress and confusion and surprises. Well, yeah, there will be surprises with your graphic, with your schedule. Mercury rules your sixth house of work anyway, with your plans for the day, your third house, how you plan. Mercury rules those both, being retrograde in your first house. Expect the unexpected. You have, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. Might not be exactly like you want, but it doesn't mean it will be bad. Because what is a retrograde planet doing? It wants you to see things from a different perspective because it moves very differently than what is normal for the planet. So it makes like a loop going back like that. And the universe just gives us a chance, and especially you Aries, to see something with new eyes or with different eyes. And they say we can't fix a problem with the same level of consciousness that we created it. Well, your consciousness is not going to be moving like it's always been moving now. It's going to go like that. It's going to do loops and look from different vantage points. And so, yes, it can disrupt your reality. Yes, there can be surprises. But it wants to show you that things can be done differently than you have been doing them till now, that things can be done in a better way, because the ultimate goal of Mercury is a planet that rules mutable signs, which are always about improvement, is that there are cleverer ways, there are smarter ways to do things. Also Venus, there's more harmonious and more fair ways to do things. Maybe Venus rules your second house as well, becoming retrograde in your sign Aries. It can mean maybe you'd see some spendings that you've been doing in your budget, like a bit like a self-audit almost about your finances or your values, where you've been wasting your time and putting energy, and you'll see it from a different perspective. Maybe you've been spending too much here, or maybe you've been not spending enough time on something that is more valuable and important for you. So you start feeling different about, Venus rules your money, how you spend, your value. Venus rules your seventh house, relationships, how you do them, business partnerships, which entails that some can be ended during this reevaluation, March and April. Some of them which you think they've been unfair, because Venus is very sensitive to something which is not unfair, and especially if they've been not valuing you correctly, or taking more of your money and time, your resources, which is the second house, because we combine the meaning of the seventh and second house, which Venus rules them both. You might become aware of those things. What is it that is wasting your resources? It might be a behavior that you do yourself, or it might be another person, and that you're giving your energy or not giving enough energy that actually you have overlooked that might be good for you, or someone that might be good for you, a business partner, someone to help you, collaborator. They might come back for you to actually see that they can be valuable in a different way to you. But yes, your values towards relationships, towards business partnerships, towards certain clients, which is all the seventh house and what Venus rules, can change, and you might change your own approach to such people. And it's not just marriage partner, the seventh house, but that's as well. It might change your attitude, or sometimes, as I said, some contracts can end, some relationships can be put on hold or revisited and re-agreed on in some ways, of the terms and conditions and what you're going to do, what am I going to do, what is fair. Because Venus ultimately wants to make everything, relationships and money in your case, because it rules those things, and values, and how you treat yourself, because it's in your first house. And how you take care of your body again, which is in your first house, wants to make it more balanced and harmonious. So it will show you a different way you can do things. So don't get frustrated if, you've had certain plans and they don't go out the same way, they don't happen the same way you expected, or like you always get them during that time. during normal times, because this March is not normal times. Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. So reevaluation of relationships, some changes there. Or you might reconnect with old partnerships and relationships. Your partner might start changing, or their reality might shift as well in some way. You might have to rethink your plans and schedules and graphics, which is Mercury, or you just might be working on project that is, business, Mercury, intellectual, whatever, a project of value and love, which is Venus, that you consider in some way that you have to edit it, fix it, update it, see that it can be done in a different way. And of course, when you've always wanted something to be in a certain way, now you have to change it, that can feel frustrating. But again, ultimately, wants to show you there is a better way, more beautiful way to do things. And you can use this energy to do Mercury, Venus retrograde, some spring cleaning, not just in your house, in your wardrobe, in your foods, how you eat, because it's again this reevaluation, changing things somehow. That second, Venus is rule of second, is food, is your possessions, is your environment. Mercury rules the third, is your social media re-examination. Mercury rules the third as well, your communications. But of course, you have to be careful with this Mercury retrograde, that you might not have, if you have omissions or things that you like you haven't secured your passwords well enough, like hacking and stuff. This can sometimes appear. Or you haven't taken good care of your devices. Something breaks down, or, sometimes because it's retrograde, what we haven't done correctly shown to us in the past, it's shown to us. If we've accumulated, Mercury rules your sixth house as well. If you might revise health habits and daily routines habits in some way, but which means that your normal routines and plans are thrown up in the air while you're re-examining, while you're trying to adjust to plan B and find plan C and D in this case. But because these are auspicious planets, both Venus and Mercury, by the time they finish their sojourn and retrograde in Aries, they'll go back after that into your 12th house in April, but then they'll come back in May into your sign. So by May, at certain time, maybe middle of May, end May, Venus and Mercury by that time, you can have much more fair finances, much more, you could have evaluated yourself financially in a better way, more worthy way, and you might have made more money than normal and positioned yourself in a more valuable way, because of Venus showing you retrograde, ruling your second house of money, showing you, wow, there's something here, I've been spending too much, or maybe I didn't invest in something that was an opportunity. You can do this in the next 2-3 months. And by the end of this process, you can have either financial more abundance, you can have maybe something that you invested before in can start paying dividends now as well. That's another way retrograde Venus ruling your second house in your first house can play out. Or you might be in a more fair relationship situations. You might have removed certain people that you consider more toxic, or that you consider that they're not giving, or you're not giving and receiving equally, or they might remove you from their life if you're not pulling your weight and if it's not mutually beneficial, because Venus wants it fair, just, or it's really, you might end up with improved relationships, improved schedules and routines and habits, and even daily habits. But you first go through some period of readjustment that can feel a bit chaotic during the seeing things differently, doing them differently for a bit. And of course, people say don't do like very drastic things with your appearance and so on. During Mercury Venus retrograde, you might go back to it when they turn direct after that. But you can make changes in your life, because at least during those retrograde periods, it shows you where things can be better, where things can be fairer, more balanced, where they can be more organized, better in a way. So ultimately, these are not malicious planets. These are auspicious, benefic, harmonious planets overall that are trying to help you correct your life. Yes, they can be stresses, like when I had Mercury retrograde in my first house, I found out things about someone who was helping me that was doing things that were not very nice and so on. So I had to change all my daily routines, habits, but ultimately that was the best thing because it gave me the power back of my business in my hands. So even if there's some shakeups during Mercury retrograde, if you think, oh, I won't be able to do it alone, but it's in your first house, you can do it alone or you can do it in a better way. Trust me. Don't let the frustration take away the gifts that Mercury and Venus retrograde have for you. Then we have two eclipses. One is on the 15th of March, and it's in your sixth house. And it's quite a tough one, even though it doesn't directly affect you, no direct aspect. But it's opposite Saturn and it's opposite Neptune. It's kind of like between a rock and a hard place, whatever feeling. And between a rock and an abyss, where do you go? So this eclipse, the lunar eclipse, it's in your sixth house. So again, we see the activation, just like we have activation for you, Aries, through Mercury being the ruler of your sixth house of health, daily routines, work, and habits, retrograde in your first house, really emphasizing you, making you rethink those things, change them some way. We have double emphasis this month because there is full moon eclipse. Eclipses are like double whammy energy, it's not just, normal full moon. And they bring more fated events, more potent, way more potent results. Full moon is about seeing the results of something, ending something, getting rewards for something, completing or losing something sometimes. And that might be on the positive side, truly, this month that you get rid of a bad habit, which is sixth house, is our health habits. Could it be, or some drug that you're addicted to, might be mental health drug or whatever that you're able to give up or see that you can do things differently. Or maybe some other health routine, and especially if you've been working, because full moons we see the results of previous actions. With eclipse in particular, you can be really rewarded if you've been working on your health in some way, exercising, changing something till now, and your diet, whatever, your environment, Wi-Fi. And with this eclipse there, you might be gifted the gift of being freed from some health problem, being freed from some unbalanced circumstance in your life as well. Sixth house is not just health problems, it's situations of imbalance where there's been accusations against you that are not fair, or where you're pulling more of your weight, or where you are more in the subservient situation, or where you're in debt to someone. It might be karmic debt, so you have to take care of them or give more than you receive in some kind of service. We shouldn't think that as something bad, because we have karmic service, debt and service in, usually to someone in our life. And you might be, with this eclipse, freed from this indebtedness. And it might be actual. You might be freed from a debt. You might complete a debt over the next 3 months, because the eclipse lasts for 3 months. Lunar eclipse, its effects are for 3 months. You might get yourself free from some debt, or you might get yourself free from a debt towards someone else, or in an unequal position that you are. You might become aware of it, or be freed from that unfair or more oppressive position, let's say. You might be freed from a place that you're serving, from a job. Sometimes we think, oh, poor me. Believe me, this eclipse, it might feel a bit harsh because it's opposite Saturn and Neptune, but it wants to free you maybe from a service that, or job or employment that you've paid your dues there for. And it's completed for you. So for some of you, it can be, some big change with your work, with your daily routines, with your schedules as well. And on another positive way is that you might see the completion of a project you've been working on and be rewarded for the efforts. Yes, it's opposite Saturn, just means there's the need for extra efforts over the next 3 months, but that can signify that you're wrapping some project of service, of work that you've been doing. Sixth house as well coming back to the health. Sometimes eclipse in the sixth house can indicate a health crisis, but this health crisis is a result, because it's full moon eclipse, of previous actions. So you just need to analyze. Saturn is opposite, analyze, and it's a Virgo after all. How do you live your lifestyle? Are you in a toxic environment? Is your back hurting? Maybe, or is your gut hurting? Maybe you're not eating healthy. Maybe. So there is a chance again, this eclipse is giving you to correct health habits. Anything that can be influencing, if there is, and to become aware. Full moons are to reveal something to you, to become aware of where a problem might be coming from, and to correct it. Opposition Saturn. So yeah, we talked about you might end some debt or some service to someone, or there might be the completion of a project or seeing results of it. Or if you have employees, there can be some changes there, or some big shifts with your career or work, the environment, how you do your job, or with the employees that you have that you need to be aware of as well, because it's like a double whammy influence. Sixth house and Mercury, the ruler, are emphasized this month. And then there is another eclipse at the very end of the month, 29th of March. Guess where? In Aries. Congratulations. Again, at the same degree, around 9 degrees in Aries. So everyone that is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 degrees planets in Aries, like I have my Mercury there. My sun is far away, but still. That's the last eclipse in Aries for the next 9 years. But it's a full new moon eclipse. The sun is there, the moon will be there, and the north node. Well, it's in Pisces already, but it creates the eclipse. It's partial eclipse, but it is about new beginnings. Powerful again, early Aries. As you see, first they're asked to do some revision pretty much most of March, to see things from a different perspective, to correct things, to eliminate things, because retrograde planets want to eliminate things that are Mercury and Venus that are not fair, that are not balanced, if the books are not balanced, or to make you aware of the things that are not perfect, or how can they be perfect. And then you get as a gift eclipse, full new moon eclipse, new beginnings with the north node. Something new comes out of that. This eclipse is active for 6 months. So don't think that on the 29th of March, that's it, full new beginning. Maybe for some of you, it can. But you have 6 months after that, where you unfold those new beginnings. To realign your life with, of course, the eclipse is caused by the north node, with the true north in your life, with the true purpose and things that you have to do here. So eclipse in your sign, what can it mean? If it's in your sun sign, and very close to the degree of your sun, big changes in the life of a father figure, big change in the life of a husband, big changes in your career, some new beginnings, some new direction. Sometimes it can happen through crisis. It's an eclipse, like change in your goals or business or career, whatever. And sometimes you have to be careful about health. All this month Aries, I cannot, it's too many shifts, too many changes. When there are shifts and changes, even though if they're for the best, even though they'll be for the best, the body feels it, earthquake is happening. And the immune system, because something new, different is coming, some change is happening. I remember when I heard my mom had given birth, it was such a shock for me, that it's, even though it was such a great thing, I knew I expected the baby, but the shock of something new, I got sick straight away, because even from very good news or big changes in your life, the immune system weakens. So I'm not telling you that you'll be sick because bad things are going to happen in your life. More like because there's shifts, big shifts, immunity weakens. So yeah, just be a bit more cautious. That's all. There's a lot of support for you still, because Venus will protect your health even though it's retrograde. And this eclipse can realign you if it's on your moon in Aries, for example, in your personal life, home, family, children, something important, mother, parents, place of living, property, real estate, or personal relationship. That can be a huge shift, new beginnings there, changes. Or if it's your rising at around those degrees of the eclipse, 7, 8, 9, It's, and even if you're, you know, even if you're still Aries later degrees, this reset of new beginnings, if it's the ascendant, it can be with relationships, in personal life, in how you look, in your health, in your appearance, in the direction of your life. Many ways it can play out for the ascendant. Right, so it's busy, and you like it. I mean, all light on new Aries. And at the same day, there is an eclipse in Aries. At the end of March, Neptune is moving into Aries. It's never happened in your life. And it will stay there 14 years, 6 months this year. It will leave in October. Only the very early Aries, 2-3 degrees, will feel it right now, but a new era is starting for Aries. It's indicated by an eclipse happening and Neptune entering Aries 14 years, and it will never repeat again. Neptune will be in your sign, and you'll be called to transcend. That's the high vibration of Neptune, to transcend the previous limiting conditions of your life, because Neptune is the high octave of faith. So what you never believed was possible, now over the next 14 years, you can make it possible and transcend there. And that's the highest manifestation of Neptune, but it can play by pulling out the rug of you from all securities. I'm not saying it's going to happen in March or April, but over the next 14 years, depends what degree of sun, moon, or ascendant is, depends what house it is in. If you have other planets in Aries or in the cardinal signs like Cancer, Capricorn, or Libra, you'd feel this Neptune. But the ultimate goal is to transcend the limitations from the current state of consciousness. Neptune is the planet that changes the level of consciousness. And it can do it sometimes in not very nice ways, and sometimes it can do it in very organic, natural ways that just by miracle, you switch vibration, you align, and you see things that are possible that you never believed possible. And Aries is action. You'd create your dreams through action. But there is some pitfalls, and I've done a 5-year video. If you're Aries, I think you need to get that. I mean, if you want to be prepared for the next 14 years, because Neptune is the most, let's say, you need a map to navigate it. And even with the map, I mean, if you have a map in a boat in the middle of the ocean, but you have no sails, okay, you kind of know where you may be going, but you still can't direct where it's going. So that's kind of what Neptune is. But maybe the map will give you peace of mind. So this is 5-hour video. Any possible Neptune transit over the sun, over the moon, square Venus, over your 5th house cusp. And I explained to you, you don't need to know any astrology. I explained to you step by step what it means, how to exactly find where Neptune transits in your horoscope, which house and what aspects it makes, which year, and I explain with real life stories and example how it's played for other people I've been observing for years and decades. And so you're prepared for that. So you can pass through it with grace. Neptune will really polish off the rough edges of Aries. We do have a few edges. Now Aries will become a lamp over the next 14 years, because Neptune is also about humility. And yes, Aries is, but if you have this humbleness to know your right place in life, neither too high above, not too low, Neptune makes miracles. It's the planet of miracles. So I wish you miracles to happen for you, Aries.